All right, as we continue with how we're like fueling the body, right? We're going to talk about limited versus unlimited fuel sources. All right, and when we're talking about limited versus unlimited, we're really talking about our bodies and how we store them. So if we were not to eat, right, or take in food during exercise, how would we fuel the body, or how do we sustain energy throughout the course of exercise or physical activity? So we know our two sources, or our main sources, are fat and carbohydrates, right? And so how do we store these things? Well, we know we have a numerous amount of fat cells in the body, right? And they can be stored in really like 1 to 3 spots, right? The body itself, right, around the tissue or your internal organs, in the muscle itself, and in the blood is like fatty acids, right? And then when we look at like the amount of calories that we store in as fat, we're looking at like 60,000 to 100,000 calories of fat stored in the body, right? So when we're talking about an unlimited fuel supply, that's what we're talking about. Like, fat is an unlimited fuel for us. We have more than enough to sustain for a long period of time. Again, you have to break it down and this, that, and the other, but and you can only do low intensity energy because it has to be with oxygen, right? So there's reasons we store a lot of that. That's our safety valve, if you will. Right, and then when we're talking about carbohydrates, we know that they are also stored in 3 places. One, they're stored in the blood, and that's known as glucose, right? And then they're also stored in the liver and in the muscle. And when you store it inside the muscle or the liver, it's stored as glycogen, which is like a complex glucose, right? So it's just a lot of glucose molecules strung together. Right, so they're able to sustain a little bit more, give a little bit more energy. And when you start looking at how many calories from carbohydrates that are stored in the body, right, you get about 80 calories from the blood, 320 calories in the liver, 400 or 1,400 calories within the muscle. So you're looking at like 1,800 calories in total, right? So our carbohydrate stores would be considered limited, right? Because we don't store an exorbitant amount, even though like, hey, 1,800 calories to get us through a day, but not when we're talking about doing high intensity exercise or some sort of sustained exercise for long periods of time, right? Like we're gonna use those stores up pretty quickly, right? So fuels, limited versus unlimited, right? Just talking about how we store them. Fat in this instance would certainly be our unlimited source. Carbohydrates would be our limited source, and we know we want to use those carbs up every chance we get, and we want to use them in high and low exercise intensities. So there you go.